You know what? It's so funny actually, guys, but so many times I start thinking about, did my team made a reservation in my favorite place? And I was like, I think there is nothing like when you call someone like champion, when you hear the champion, it's like, how can I actually complain about anything? Like if you won.
The clay at Caja Magica was still being rolled out. The tournament hadn't even started. And already, Spain had chosen its queen, and it wasn't Aryna Sabalenka. She owns this place. 3 titles, 2021, 2023, 2025. She swept Indian Wells this year. She swept Miami. She posted her welcome video arriving at Caja Magica. Warm smile, champion energy. Hola Madrid, I'm back. It got buried in hours. Alex Eala touched down in Spain, and the Mutua Madrid Open's own social team started posting her content over everything else. Her Australian Open press conference pulled 196,000 views this season. Sabalenka's pulled 9,000. Same tournament, same week. Spain was already worshipping before the draw was even announced. Back in the Philippines, an entire nation stopped breathing. The way it used to for Manny Pacquiao. That same electricity, that same hunger. Except now the fight is on clay, in Sabalenka's own fortress. Eala is ranked number 44, opens against a qualifier, lost in Stuttgart days ago. And somewhere in that locker room, Aryna Sabalenka is staring at numbers that should not be possible, and feeling every bit of it. That silence? That is devastation. Subscribe right now. Because what Spain just did to the world number 1 is the most shocking thing this sport has produced in years. The draw confirmation landed on April 20th. Eala versus a qualifier. If she wins that, Elise Mertens will be in the second round. On paper, a manageable path. In reality, the entire tournament ecosystem had already decided this was her stage. The Mutua Madrid Open's own digital team had been tracking the Eala effect for days before a single ball was struck. When she arrived at Caja Magica for her first practice session, Donna Vekic, a Paris 2024 Olympic silver medalist and one of the most respected players on tour, went straight to her Instagram story and posted Eala's name with a single word. Friday, no explanation needed, no context required. A player of Vekic's standing was essentially announcing Eala's arrival like a marquee event. That is not how tennis works for a world number 44. That is not how tennis works for anyone outside the top 10. But the rules of tennis stopped applying to Alex Eala sometime around May 2025, and nobody has managed to explain it cleanly since. To understand what Spain is responding to, you have to go back to Miami last year. Eala walked into that tournament as a wild card. She was not supposed to be there in any meaningful sense. She beat Iga Swiatek, then she beat Madison Keys, a 19-year-old wild card from the Philippines, knocking out 2 of the best players on the planet in consecutive matches at a WTA 1000 event. The sport had not seen anything like it in years. The crowd noise in those matches became its own story. Filipino fans had flown in, driven in, stayed up through the night across time zones to watch someone who looked like them compete at that level and win. Sports journalist TJ Manotas put it plainly in the weeks after Miami. The Philippines had been searching for the next Manny Pacquiao, not just a good athlete, a figure, someone who makes an entire country stop moving. Pacquiao at his peak meant empty streets, businesses closing, everyone gathered around a screen. That kind of cultural gravity does not transfer to a new sport overnight. It does not transfer to a new generation easily. But when it does transfer, when it finally lands on someone, the energy is unmistakable. Madrid is feeling that energy right now, and it has never felt it before. Sabalenka understood none of this was directed at her personally. She said as much in her arrival video. She came back to Madrid looking relaxed, playful, training alongside Paula Badosa, joking on camera, fully at ease in a city that has celebrated her 3 times. That is the part that makes the situation so uncomfortable to watch. Sabalenka is not doing anything wrong. She is playing the best tennis of her career. She came into this clay season with back-to-back WTA 1000 titles already secured. Indian Wells was not close, Miami was not close. She beat Elena Rybakina in the semifinals and Coco Gauff in the final and made both look like formality. By every measurable standard, she is the dominant force in women's tennis right now. The crowd does not care about measurable standards. Eala's Indian Wells run this year added more fuel. She beat Diana Yastremska in a 2-hour 43-minute match that finished close to midnight. The stands should have been emptying. Instead, they stayed. A Laban Alex sign, Laban meaning fight in Tagalog, was held up in the front row as the clock moved toward 12. When Eala won the third set, the noise from that crowd was louder than anything the BNP Paribas Open had produced for any other match that week. A day-in-the-life video the tournament posted featuring Eala became the most viewed piece of content from the entire 2026 Indian Wells event. Not the most viewed for a female player, not the most viewed for an Asian player, most viewed, full stop. The tournament has been running since 1976. That is the machine that rolled into Madrid this week. Eala herself has been careful not to treat any of this as an arrival. After the Indian Wells lost to Clara Towson in the third round, she did not frame it as a failure of the moment. She talked about her clay game needing work. She was honest about Stuttgart, where Leylah Fernandez beat her in straight sets in the round of 32 at the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix. Fernandez won 6-1, 6-4. It was not competitive. Eala was 1-2 on clay entering Madrid, and she knew it. She told reporters she was treating this clay swing as a learning block, building toward Roland Garros in May. The French Open starts on May 18th. Madrid and Rome are the preparation. She is thinking that far ahead. That maturity is part of what makes the phenomenon so difficult for rival camps to dismiss. This is not a player riding chaos. Eala reached the semi-finals of the ASB Classic in Auckland in January, losing to Wang Xinyu. She made the quarterfinals in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and at the Philippine Women's Open in Manila. That Manila event was its own cultural rupture. The inaugural Philippine Women's Open drew crowds that the WTA had never seen for a 125-level event in that region. Eala lost in the quarterfinals to eventual champion Camila Osorio, but she later told the New York Times that Manila was the highlight of her year. Not a Grand Slam, not a WTA 1000, a 125-level tournament at home, because of what it meant, because of what it represented for women's tennis in a country that had never had a tournament like it. Now she is ranked number 44 after sliding from a career high of number 29 following her Miami exit this year, where she lost to Karolina Muchova in the round of 16, 6-0, 6-2. That scoreline stung. She dropped 270 ranking points in a single result. The trajectory that had felt inevitable slowed down. 3 consecutive rounds of 16 exits. Linz, Miami, Indian Wells, after her career high, created a narrative that the level had caught up to her. That the 2025 Miami run was lightning in a bottle. That the big names had figured her out. Madrid is her answer to that narrative, or the beginning of one. The bracket is brutal regardless of seeding position. Sabalenka sits in the top half alongside Iga Swiatek, Mira Andreeva, and Alina Svitolina. Rybakina anchors the bottom half with Goff, Jessica Pegula, and Victoria Mboko. These are not soft draws for anyone. The 96-player field carries 76 direct entrants, 12 qualifiers, and 8 wildcards, including Venus Williams and Paula Badosa. Every section of this tournament is stacked. Eala's path through a qualifier and then potentially Mertens is manageable only until it isn't, and in a WTA 1000 on clay, it stops being manageable very quickly. What Sabalenka needs from this tournament is points defense and a 4th title. She won here in 2025, beating Goff. She won in 2023, she won in 2021. 3 titles at one venue is a statement of ownership. She arrives as the world number 1, having also won the Australian Open in January, making her the most decorated active player on the women's tour right now, by any measure of recent output. If she defends successfully in Madrid, the conversation around her dominance becomes almost impossible to challenge heading into Roland Garros. But defending champions do not always get the crowd on their side. Defending champions can feel the temperature of a room shift. And right now, the temperature in Madrid is shifting in a direction that Sabalenka has not experienced before. Not here, not at a tournament she has made her own. What Spain is worshipping is not just a tennis player, it is a story that travels. Eala trained at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Manacor. She spent years developing her game in Spain, on Spanish clay, in a Spanish institution built by the greatest clay court player the sport has ever produced. She knows this surface. She knows this country. The connection between Eala and Spain runs deeper than one tournament week, and Madrid crowds understand that layer of the story even if they have never articulated it. When the Madrid Open begins proper on April 21st, the atmosphere around Eala's matches will be unlike anything in the draw above her ranking. Sabalenka will receive champions treatment. The ceremony, the court assignments, the seeded status, all of it points to the world number one. But ceremony and atmosphere are different things. The ceremony is scheduled. Atmosphere is earned in real time. And in real time, from the moment Alex Eala arrived in Spain, the atmosphere started moving. Sabalenka has already been asked about the attention Eala commands. She has handled it graciously, which says everything about her character and nothing to reduce the discomfort of the situation. Because no competitor at the level Sabalenka operates at, no player who has built what she has built over the past 3 years, walks into a tournament she owns and feels nothing when the energy in the building points somewhere else. She feels it. The question is whether she uses it. If history is any guide, she does. Sabalenka has converted uncomfortable circumstances into performances before. The 2023 Australian Open was the first Grand Slam title she won under immense personal difficulty. The Miami final this year, where she dispatched Goff without dropping serve in the decisive moments. She does not shrink. She has never shrunken. But she has also never had to compete for the soul of a tournament against someone who is not even in her quarter of the draw. That is new. That is the specific devastation Madrid is delivering. Not a loss, not a court defeat, but the quieter, more lasting damage of walking into your own fortress and finding someone else already inside it. Eala goes into her first-round match with a clay record of 1-2 this season and 6 career clay matches of meaningful data to draw from. The surface does not yet owe her anything. She knows that. Her coaches know that. The Filipino fans who have already bought tickets for her potential matches this week know that too, and they are going in anyway, holding their Laban signs, staying until midnight if they have to, because they are not just watching a tennis match, they are watching a country find its next chapter. That is what makes this the most shocking coronation women's tennis has seen in years. Not a trophy, not a ranking. A 20-year-old from the Philippines, ranked number 44, opening against a qualifier, and the world number 1, 3-time champion of this exact tournament, is the one whose story feels like it needs defending. Sabalenka will compete. She will compete fiercely. She may win this tournament for the 4th time. The clay suits her power game. The conditions at Caja Magica at an altitude slightly slow the ball and favor big hitters, and nobody on the women's tour hits bigger than Sabalenka when she is locked in. The technical case for another Sabalenka title here is strong. It may even be the most likely outcome when the draws play out, but outcomes and narratives are separate currencies in sport. And right now, in Madrid, in the days before this tournament fully ignites, the narrative belongs entirely to one player. The crowd belongs to her. The tournament's content team is posting for her. A nation of 100 million people is setting alarms for her. And the woman who built this place, who put her name on it 3 separate times, posted her welcome video and watched it disappear into the noise. That is not a stat. That is not a ranking comparison. That is the specific, quiet, irreversible way that a sport changes shape around a new force. And the moment the old force realizes the ground has moved beneath them, Madrid has chosen, Spain is worshipping, and Aryna Sabalenka, the best player on the planet right now by every number that exists, is standing in the middle of it feeling something the trophy count cannot fix. If this video gave you a perspective you have not read anywhere else, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit the notification bell so you do not miss what happens when Eala actually steps onto that clay. Share this with anyone who thinks they already know this story. They do not. Not yet, this is only the beginning.